Okay, so let's continue the Gemara. So the Gemara, it's a, by the way, the Gemara is following up a continuation. It says in the Pasuk, Vayipoil al Tzavere Binyamin. The Gemara is darshaning the Psukim. It says, Vayipoil al Tzavere Binyamin Ochi. We started discussing about Yosef and his brothers, the different Psukim. The Gemara is continuing with some of the Psukim. It says he fell on the neck of his brother Binyamin. And the Gemara basically asks the question, Kama Tzavorim Havolei Libinyamin. Why does it say Tzavorei? Why does it say Vayipel al Tzavore Binyamin Ochiv, that he fell on the Tzavore in a plural? Kama Tzavorim Havolei Libinyamin. How many necks did Binyamin have? Why does it say Tzavore? That is the text way we read it in the Rashi in the Gemara. But Rashi takes issue with this. Rashi says, Kama tzavorim hoyle v'yomim loy garsinam. That's not the right version. We don't say that. Why? According to Rashi, the language of tzavore, plural, is a commonly found in the Chumash. So it's not really unusual. Rashi says, Shekein derech hamikra lichtev tzavore lo sharabim, because this is the usual way. The pasuk uses the plural for necks. That's his use. He brings an example. It says al chelkas savorov. It doesn't say al chelkas savoroi. Savorov, it says. And then later on it says bocho al savorov. It also says a plural. According to Rashi, the drasha is not based on Tzavorov, Loshen Rabim. It's not based on that. It is just he's darshaning. Why was he crying? Rashi says we're not goyres. How many Tzavorim did he have? In other words, that the reason for the drasha is because the pasuk uses the plural. According to Rashi, the plural is a common language used for the neck of a person. So therefore, that is not the reason. But what is he darshan? He says anyways, why was he crying? Amar Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, Bocha al Shnei Migdashim. He was crying for the two Beis Migdash, the Beis Migdash Rishon and Beis Migdash Sheni. Sha'asidim liyois bechelke shel Binyamin. They are destined to be in the portion of Binyamin. He was crying for Binyamin, for the Beis Hamikdash that are going to be in his portion. Va'asidin lechorev, and they're going to be destroyed. We lost the first Beis Hamikdash, we lost the second Beis Hamikdash. They were both in the portion of Binyamin. So therefore he cried for these two Beis Hamikdash. Ubinyamin bochal tzavorov. And then, on the other hand, Binyamin cried on his neck. So that was for the Beis Hamikdash, which was in the portion of Yosef. Bochal Mishkan Shiloi, he was crying for the Mishkan Shiloi. She'osil li is bechelke shel Yosef. That was in the part of Yosef. Ba'osil lechorev, and it's going to be destroyed. So basically, it turned out the crying was for the future, for the destructions of the Beis Hamikdash. There were two Beis Hamikdash in the section of Binyamin, and there was one Beis Hamikdash in the section of Yosef, and that's where they were crying on the Beis Hamikdash of each other. And the Rebbe has an interesting take on this. The Rebbe says, why were they all crying for the Beis Hamikdash that wasn't the portion of the other person? Why not cry in the Beis Hamikdash? That's in their part. Why are they all crying for the other one? And Rebbe says, for the Beis Hamikdash in your portion, don't cry, do something about it. You know, if you feel bad for somebody else, you cry for them. But for your own self, don't cry, but try to remedy it and fix it. Anyways, further he says, why is he bringing in both? He says, your eyes, he's talking to his brothers. Your eyes can see, and also the eyes of my brother Binyamin. Why did he separate Binyamin from them? Why doesn't he put them all together? He should say, Einechem, all your eyes, which would include Binyamin. So Omar Rabbi Elazar, what he's basically saying to them, Omar Lahem, what Yosef was saying to them, Kishem Shein Beliba al Binyamin Ochi. Just like I have nothing in my heart against my brother Binyamin. Why? He wasn't there they sold me. So the same thing is, Kach ein beliba aleichem. Likewise, I have nothing in my heart against you too. So it was basically telling them, you and Binyamin are all the same. I'm not upset at Binyamin because he wasn't even there. I'm not upset at you either. That's why he separated the Einechem and Eineachim Binyamin, to say them that they're both equal and he has no grudge about any of them. What did he mean when he said Kipi Hamadaber Aleichem? So it meant Kipi Kain Libi. It's my mouth speaks to you, which means he was telling him, my mouth is just like my heart, basically. Just like I'm saying to you, that's really what's in my heart. Then further, the pasuk says, he sent to them 10 donkeys that were carrying from the good stuff of Egypt. What is this from the good of Egypt? What did he send them that was so good? Amar Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes Amar Rabbi Elazar. So Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes said to Rabbi Elazar, it wasn't something good from Mitzrayim. It was something from Mitzrayim that he liked. Sholach lo yain yosham. He sent them aged wine. Shadaz kenim noichemenu. The people, the mind of the elders is comfortable. They like it. So he sent them aged wine. So basically, it's good because that's what he likes, basically. It wasn't like he sent something special of Egypt. He sent Yaakov that which he liked. Because this is something which is best to him than anything else. He sent them what's best to him, what he liked. Then it says, so the brothers went towards Yosef and they fell before him. Pasuk says over there, this is after he revealed himself. And they said that we are ready to be. So why did they fall before him? So Amar Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefes Amar Rabbi Elazar said, Rabbi Binyamin, Rabbi Elazar, Haini da Amri Inshi. This is what people say. There's an expression. Tala, a fox, Bi'idnei, at his time. When you see the time that a fox is successful, Sagidlai, bow down to him. Basically, even if you see somebody who is on a lower level than you, but you see that they're successful, so bow to them. In other words, accept it at that time. Rashi says, Talo means a shul, a fox. If you see that there is he's successful, that at the moment he's successful, bow to him. But the Gemara wants to know, it seems to be that Yosef is compared it to the fox. And we're saying, well, why is he a fox? Why is he considered to be a lesser level than the brothers? Why do we say, why shouldn't they bow to him? He's not. Tala, the Gemara says, Tala, this is a fox. My bitzurusa ma'ach. What is his lacking? Why is he less than the brothers? Why are we saying that he's like a fox, that you have to accept him? Tala, korele Yosef lifnei Yaakov. You're referring to Yosef before his brother as the fox. My bitziruse ma'ach. What is his less? How is he less than his brother? Why is he the fox? says that saying doesn't fit over here, because there is no reason to call Yosef a fox, to compare him to the fox. If this was said, this is where it was said. This is the way it was said. It says that when Yosef came to visit his father, Yaakov, Yisrael, he says, Vayishtachu Yisrael al Reish Hamita. So Israel bowed towards the head of the bed, and that was sort of a bow to Yosef, even though Yosef was his son. And yet Yaakov bowed to him. So Amar Rabbi Yom Bar Yefes, Amar Rabbi Lazar, Tala Be'idna Sagidlei. A fox in its time bowed to him. So then it says, Vaynochem Yosef Adaber Alibam, still going on with Yosef over there, his brothers. He comforted them and he spoke on their heart. What does it mean he spoke to the heart? He talked to them things that made sense to them. Amar Rabbi Yom Bar Yefes, Amar Rabbi Lazar, says Rabbi Yom Bar Yefes, name Rabbi Lazar, Melamed she'omar lehem dvorim shemiskablim al halev. This teaches us that he was telling him such things that are acceptable on the heart. What did he tell them? If 10 candles, I mean the 10 brothers were not able to extinguish even one candle, which means Yosef, how could one candle extinguish 10 candles? So you're not going to be able to extinguish them. Back to the Megillah. So to the Jewish people, there was light, joy, and happiness, and Ikar, precious. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Oira, what does it mean they had Oira? Zu Torah. They were able to study Torah. So we call Torah light. So that's like Oira. Oira is Torah. Why is Torah? Oira zu Torah Rashi. Because Haman decreed they shouldn't occupy the Torah. Then it says Simcha. Simcha is a Yom Tov. They made it into a festival. So Yom Tov Kiyum Aleim Yomim Tovim. They sustained this as good days to celebrate Purim. V'cheinu Omer, and also we see the idea of Simcha is Yom Tov is of Samachta B'Chagecha. Then it says Sosin. Sosin is Milah. He decreed against Akol Eila Gozai. He decreed against Bris, against Torah, against Yom Tov. But why? The pasuk, when it's talking about Bris Milah, David HaMelech says, Sosonoichim. I'm happy, Ali Imrosecha, for what you said. This Imrosecha means what Hashem commanded us to do, Bris Milah. He's saying he's sos, that's the sosing. Why? What does it mean, Ali Imrosecha? But Hashem says a lot of things. Why does it mean Imrosecha? So he says, Imrosecha zek the Zumila. You're saying this refers to specifically to Bris Milah. Why? That is said, Hashem spoke Amor and not Vaydaber. And so it says the word Vayomer Hashem al Avram. So we see Lashon Vayomer. And we find that for this bris, that's why it's called Imrosecha, because it's not the Lashon Vaydaber, it's the Lashon Vayomer.
Is that uncommon? Is that uncommon?
Yeah, usually it's Vaydaber, all the mitzvahs, mostly, I guess. That David was happy on it. So he was doing the Lamnatseach for the 8th. What is the 8th? So it says in the Medrash, so when he was in the battle, so now he couldn't study Torah, didn't have any mitzvahs. Once he saw his bris milah, he was happy because he has a mitzvah. That's why it's sos and sos. The Yikar, he says Eilu Tefillin. And so the pasuk says in Dvarim Chavches, "V'ro kol amei ha'oretz kishem Hashem nikra alecha v'yoru mimeka." V'tanya Rabbi Elazar HaGadol Omer elu tefillin sheberosh. He says these are the tefillin of the head. I think we're going to call it a day today. Just we're going to call it a day, and if both.
Steve and Evan
and what's his name, and Grayman, they can't make it. I mean, right now it's just after Pesach we can go back to the regular time to 6:15. We can go back, maybe not have a full shear, but we can go back to 6:15. Even today we could have done it. I had something else, so maybe next week we'll go back to 6:15 because Myra was called for 7. Next week it'll be 7:15, so it'll give us enough time. So we'll make it back. So hopefully we can get them back. But for now, I'll call it a day, and I'll see everybody next week.
Rabbi, I hope you feel better. Thank you.
What? I'm sorry.
I hope you feel better.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ron.